Good afternoon. It's May 6th, 6 p.m. And I want to welcome you to report number 4 of Patrol Rep. And I'm going to start off and talk about a few things on my areas of interest, which are mind control, creativity, imagination, and history. So just to begin with, my YouTube channel is called Patrol Rep. That's an acronym for Patrol Report, and it basically is going to be a frequent commentary on current events as well as some storyline behind my book. And what I picked this image that you see on the screen basically as a display of what I envision myself to be, is a person on patrol in the desolate Bardo, searching and hopefully rescuing lost souls that are wandering, trying to reincarnate, trying to experience full realization of reality, ultimate reality, and doing whatever I can to help out, knowing that if they don't reincarnate into a higher sentient being of understanding, then future generations of our world are just gonna, not have the tools, the skills, the knowledge, the experience to fight what I fear is an overpowering authority, malevolent authority that just wants to control mankind. And some of this relates back to, the essence of good and evil. I think we're all potentially subject to manipulation and for evil purposes. I think we're inherently good, souls, but we can become very confused about what our intent is, what is the purpose of life. So anyway, I just the Bardo represents Tibetan Buddhism, and as a place that you go to for 42 days after your physical life expires and prior to your next reincarnation. So I think in that time period they have a whole architecture of wrathful entities that are wandering this desolate place to, strike fear into these confused souls that really don't know, what they're experiencing. They're the first time without a physical body, so they're kind of lost and confused, and they're reacting to, all the fears that have gone into the subconscious. So that is the story behind the Bardo Patrol, and Patrol Rep is just, a frequent report. So this is report number 4, Patrol Rep. Thank you for attending. Appreciate it. I'm Mark Ewing, author of Wrathful Empathies, the second raid on Harper's Ferry. And I'm going to go into some of the detail about that narrative, what it tells, what it's going to tell in book 2. Book 3 is kind of far away, but I already know the outcome of that, and I think it's going to be surprising for a lot of people who've read William Blake and are familiar with some of his characters, like Eurazine. And he's just another actor in the play. So I'm going to put my own spin on that. But basically, I just wanted to go into what does the logo for Bardo Patrol stand for. And if you are a viewer of my author's blog, www.wrathfulempathies.com, you'll know that I posted a blog a couple days ago challenging people to guess what this symbol means, and if they did, to leave a comment and or send me an email at lostmungo2@gmail.com, and I'd send them a free woven patch of the Bardo Patrol, so they could be an official member of the Bardo Patrol. As of today, I haven't gotten any responses, but you have to link together another blog post that I did about the subconscious. And, the subconscious is defined as the inner mind, the mind within the mind. Subconscious is below your conscious mind. And not everyone is in control of their subconscious. I mean, things are put there, things pass into your subconscious constantly, and they take root and they sprout, good or bad things. And that gets back to the Bardo. What the Tibetan Buddhists believe is those things in your subconscious come back to you in the Bardo, and you have to confront all of them to reincarnate or to experience ultimate reality and just get released from the wheel of life. So the Bardo Patrol symbol depicts basically a flame within a flame. So the inner flame, the yellow flame, represents the subconscious within the conscious. And that's where the Bardo Patrol roams. They're roaming that, patrolling that inner flame, that inner subconscious mind, trying to, root out whatever fears, bad things that are in there. Completely voluntary force, and whatever you can do to help out your fellow man, that would be great. It's just my own personal spin on the wrathful entities of Tibetan Buddhism, which manifest themselves as kind of fearsome monsters and things. So I think Bardo Patrol member is a little bit more, less fearsome than the monsters of the Tibetan Book of the Dead and that cosmology. So anyway, that's behind the Bardo Patrol. Next, I wanted to talk about another scene in my book, The Wrathful Entities, the Second Raid on Harper's Ferry, and that is Vagary's Tavern. And that's just an old dive tavern in a small rural country town near the mountains, Blue Ridge Mountains, along the Shenandoah River. And I just love this image because I was trying to think of, my book is populated with all these kind of cast-off, deplorable people of the economically depressed Old South that, in the mountains, Appalachia basically, the people that kind of our economy forgot. And currently in the throes of despair and opioid addiction epidemics and stuff like that. But they're tough, they're resilient, and they find their own way to survive. And amongst that population, that culture, is a group of very secretive people called the Kindred, and they are ancestors of the survivors of John Brown's original raid on Harper's Ferry that escaped into the night before the final climactic assault by the Marines that captured John Brown and killed a lot of his crew. They took flight. They watched the climactic battle from the surrounding mountainsides of Maryland Heights and Loudoun Heights in Virginia. And then they escaped and they, pledged to keep up the fight for liberty across time and space, and that's what they do. So Vagary's is their unofficial headquarters. Everything you can imagine about a rundown dive bar in Appalachia, that's what Vagary's is. And they have what I created a very unique happy hour called the Absurd Happy Hour. And it basically at 5 p.m., if they have 12 patrons in the bar, and the bell behind the bar rings itself, then the Absurd Happy Hour takes over and everyone drinks for free. So in the opening scene that describes Vagary's, they have 11 members. A very funny, colorful character called Wobbly comes in. He's kind of unofficial member of the Kindred. He's a thru hiker on the Appalachian Trail, what I call the Great Trail. And he's out there. He's a big partier. And he stumbles in. He's the 11th person. It's almost 5 o'clock, and everyone's very excited and anticipating that they need one more person. And sure enough, in through the door comes a sandaled Buddhist monk that no one really expected to see. But he plays into the storyline as a friend of one of the main characters, who was going to perform the Tibetan Book of the Dead prayers over his dead body and help him negotiate the bardo. So anyway, the 12th person comes into the bar. It's 5 o'clock. Everyone turns to see if the bell rings, and sure enough, the tavern is right next to a railroad line, so you can hear the roar of the engine as the train approaches, and people start to get a little thirsty and lick their lips in anticipation of the free beer that's about to flow. And sure enough, as the train passes behind the tavern, the rumble and roar of that heavy steel at that speed shakes the very rickety foundation of the wooden post tavern, and the bell starts to ring, and everyone starts to drink, and it's just a fun place. So this image, when I was trying to think of how to capture an image of Vagary's Tavern, it tells a story, and everything should be a story. So here's what could be a member of the kindred on his way back to a mountain shelter along the Appalachian Trail. In the distance is the village with the church steeple. He's got his hiking staff. He made it so far before the effects of alcohol took effect, and he had to take a break and take a rest, and a rest became a nap, and what some people may say was more likely he passed out, but anyway, that's the kindred. That is Vagary's Tavern, and I think on my bumper sticker it says home of the absurd happy hour, which is kind of funny. All right, next I'm going to wrap up with one of the main characters of my novel, who I call Eurazine, is right out of William Blake's poem America, a Prophecy, which was written about the American Revolution, and was very concerned that as free human beings we had to break the yoke of tyrants and become free. And William Blake was very excited that the American Revolution was maybe the first time that was going to happen in the history of mankind. He was a little concerned, disappointed that they maintained slavery as an institution, a legal institution. So that's kind of where I launched my entire book. But anyway, let's talk about Eurazine's net. And William Blake was also an illustrator, and he came up with this image of Eurazine, who's like a demigod, ultimate master of the universe, and controls everything with his net. And I'm telling you, the net is ever present. I can see it every day. And I posted some videos about how, a couple of videos. One's about cultural Marxism and how our entire history is being rewritten. So, our past is disappearing, the past is being manipulated, and our present is being manipulated, and they're even saying now that our future is potentially manipulated, because we have no control over our own thinking anymore. So I was just watching a video on YouTube by a YouTuber called Tracy Beans. She has her own YouTube channel. And we're talking about the current special counsel investigation. And, what they're saying basically is that even though people think they freely voted, they didn't. It was all controlled by, some kind of subconscious programming of our minds by a foreign government, that we didn't make an individual choice. It was, even though we thought we were voting for a better economy, constitutional rights, and certain things, actually it wasn't ours. It wasn't our original thought. It was some kind of mind control operation. So it's funny that they're using a mind control meme to actually exercise mind control. And what they've done is they've just taken away everyone's independent thought with this entire scenario that, you know, some kind of master manipulation of American voters. So that is a mind control program right there. I'm telling you, that is real. That's happening as we speak. They just eliminated the votes of half the population by saying it wasn't your vote, it wasn't your thought, it never belonged to you. That is a control mechanism. And they're also saying, you know, maybe future votes aren't going to count either, because we can't guarantee that we aren't going to be manipulated next time either. So, you know, I don't know if people realize that they're seeing mind control in action. And I'm not talking about a foreign government, you know, somehow putting ads on YouTube or Facebook to control an American election, but this is a thought that's put out there that negates. It's a meme that's negating, you know, tens of millions of people's conscious decision to vote one way or the other. And when I, you know, my book is all about past, present, and future mind control and its implications. Just think about the confusion that creates in some people who are saying, yeah, maybe I didn't have that thought. Maybe that wasn't my thought. And then they're going to go into the bardo and they're not going to know their true selves. They're always going to be second guessing their conscious mind, because these thoughts have been put into their subconscious now. And it's just an absolutely amazing phenomena that's going on right now, right before our eyes. And, you know, depending on however you fell on the election, I mean, the same thing could be said if it had gone the other way. It never has been presented that way, but it's just it's fascinating from my perspective, because in my book I do believe that there is an authority who's unelected, who's taking control of the republic and is using a secret underground mind control operation to implant fears in people in their subconscious, intentionally to control their reincarnation, because they want the next generation of citizens to be even more confused and more vulnerable to mind control. And that's what they're going to get through, you know, this fear that they're implanting, because these people are not going to reincarnate in the bardo to a strong, you know, second, third life. They're going to come back as in pure desperation, as a lesser entity. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Believe it or not, I don't know, but it makes for a hell of a good story, I think. And I'm working on book 2, which is called Temps of Lee, the 14th colony, and it's again a play on the 13 colonies of the Revolution. There was a lot of action to have a 14th colony, Vandalia, which was going to comprise the mountainous areas of West Virginia, well, what is today West Virginia, but then was Virginia colony, maybe parts of Tennessee, maybe parts of Western Maryland and southwestern Pennsylvania. But it was going to be called Vandalia. They put a proposal to the royal court in England to get official designation for 14th colony, and then the revolution broke out and it all went to hell. So they didn't get their opportunity. But in my mind, I'm thinking, that's interesting. What if they had gotten that? And then you just kind of just kind of release everything from its historical linear reality and say, well, let me see, West Virginia did secede from Virginia during the Civil War because they were not proponents of slavery. So what would have happened had Vandalia, the 14th colony, been established? It would have been probably a free state, which is very interesting. Just a fun thing to imagine, and that's what I do in my first book, is imagine what would happen if John Brown's first raid had been successful, and there had been this slave army that was roaming what he called the Great Way along the backbones of the Appalachian Mountains, raiding, freeing slaves from plantations. How would the government have reacted to that? If they sent Marines in just to quell the raid on Harper's Ferry of the Federal Army, what would they have done had it been successful and this army was kind of, afoot in the mountains of Appalachia, freeing themselves? So, kind of like Spartacus. What if it had been successful? So what was really the threat, John Brown? Was it his direct action? Was that the threat? It's interesting. He attacked a federal armory, but yet his crime was processed in Virginia, in state courts of Virginia, in Virginia state laws. So that was very interesting, why that happened that way. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and I'll try to keep posting more frequent content on my author's blog and the YouTube channel, and pick up some subscribers, I hope. So thanks again for watching, and please send me some chats, comments on either mechanism, either venue, and I appreciate it, and get back to you and see how we can improve this site, improve this communication. I have lots of content I want to go over. Until then, thanks a lot for logging in, and we'll see you. Bye.